Hi there, thanks for joining us for another edition of Jamaica Magazine. Today's show will focus on science, technology and innovation. We'll also be promoting our Eat Jamaican campaign. Please stay with us for these and so much more right after this break.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh and this is your JIS News for Monday, November 20. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his government is moving apace to have the public sector wage negotiation completed before the next fiscal year. The Prime Minister says while he understands the need for dialogue and exploration of possibilities to ease acceptance of a deal, the process is moving slowly. As a result, Mr. Holness says his team will be increasing its communication with stakeholders to reach an agreement.
Myself and the Minister of Finance and his team, we have had discussions about how we can improve that dialogue, improve the communication, and build the trust and credibility on both sides of the conversation. And that exercise will have to be intensified. I'm giving some oversight to it, but at the same time, we will allow the process to continue.
The Prime Minister was addressing the IMF press conference last Friday. He reiterated the importance of public sector transformation to the country's economic growth and maintaining the public sector wage bill under the IMF standby agreement. Mr. Holness called on trade unions to bargain with these realities in mind during wage negotiations.
And I want to use this platform to appeal to the unions to consider the government's offer and to reassure them that the government will always maintain a respectful and collaborative stance in the negotiations.
Ground will be broken in a few weeks for the construction of a new 120-megawatt LNG power plant at the Jamalco refinery in Clarendon. Transport and Mining Minister Mike Henry made the announcement during a recent press briefing.
This will improve its efficiency, reduce operating costs, and increase its profitability, and provide 200 to 300 jobs in the installation stage, and then we lead to 1,000 more jobs in the Clarendon belt.
Minister Henry says a similar investment will be made by the Jiquan Iron and Steel Company, JISCO, to construct a new 230-megawatt LNG power plant for its operations in St. Elizabeth. $500 million will be invested in that plant.
And what I'm talking about, I'm expecting to be happening in this fiscal year. And LNG is a clean fuel, and therefore should send a message to the environmentalists that we are making that an important element of the development of the industry.
Government is a step closer to constructing the long-awaited Montego Bay bypass in St. James. The bypass is expected to provide road users a reprieve from traffic congestion in the second city. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he has viewed the finalized alignment for the roadway, which will now go before Cabinet for approval.
I saw the final alignment, which to me makes sense. It will be a 14-kilometer road. When it is finished, it will take you 8 minutes to bypass the Montego Bay city proper at 60 kilometers an hour.
Following Cabinet's approval, Mr. Holness says government will seek financing for the project. The Prime Minister was addressing the recent opening of the ATL Automotive Group's latest showroom for its Porsche brand in Montego Bay. ATL Automotive Group Chairman Adam Stewart revealed that come March 1, 2018, the group will open its new Kia facility. The definition for micro, small and medium-sized enterprises (MSMEs) has been revised. The revision forms part of the amended MSME policy Green Paper tabled in the House of Representatives last week. The new MSME policy is an improvement on the one tabled in 2013. Industry Minister Carl Samuda says following consultations, the volume of sales will now be the major determinant in the MSME classification, with employment acting only as a guide. As a result, micro-enterprises are now defined as companies with annual sales turnover of between $10 and $15 million. Small enterprises are now at annual sales turnover of $50 to $75 million, while medium-sized businesses will be defined as those having annual sales of $150 to $425 million. The updated MSME policy also includes social value creation as a new priority area. This takes into account issues impacting social enterprises, including business financing, support, and providing an enabling environment.
The ministry will be convening one major validation or consultation workshop with a view to presenting the draft final policy to all stakeholders and to present the final policy as a white paper before the end of the current financial year.
The first two codes of conduct, which are critical to advancing the rights of persons with disabilities under the Disabilities Act, are being developed. Labor and Social Security Minister Shahini Robinson says the ministry is in the process of drafting the codes, which will be finalized and ready by mid-2018.
Over time, the other 5 codes will be prepared so all areas of the Act are understood by the ordinary Jamaican anywhere. Our valued stakeholders will be engaged in reviewing these codes to ensure we understand clearly how to include persons with disabilities in education and training and the ever-important employment.
Minister Robinson says a consultant is also being engaged to develop a new organizational structure for the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, JCPD, as it takes on its new roles and functions as stated in the Disabilities Act. Minister Robinson was addressing the recent launch of a media campaign to increase public awareness on the rights of persons with disabilities and the role of the JCPD. And finally, the Caribbean Maritime University, CMU, graduated its first cohort of students to be certified since the institution's formal upgrading in September. Approximately 250 students were conferred with diplomas, bachelor's and master's degrees during the graduation ceremony at the Jamaica Conference Center. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid lauded the CMU staff and graduates on the milestone achievement.
I'm very proud today that the Caribbean Maritime University is graduating over 250 internationally high-paying, industry-ready graduates who I will expect to become leaders in the logistics and maritime landscape.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
That day will come when they will try to escape, when there will be nowhere to run.
No one is above the law. We encourage all Jamaicans to join the fight against corruption, organized criminality, these nefarious activities that stymies our country's progress. I want to encourage all Jamaicans to call. We have a secure line, 1-800-CORRUPT. Call anytime and we will treat the information received with the highest standard of confidentiality. We need your help. We want to elicit your support.
Call 1-800-CORRUPT. That's 1-800-267-7878. Be the change. Report corruption today.
Catch up on the latest news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister next.
Jamaica hosts IMF High-Level Caribbean Forum. Road maintenance fund to be subsumed into Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. And Prime Minister announces island-wide road patching program. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Last Thursday, Jamaica hosted the International Monetary Fund's High-Level Forum, welcoming regional and international leaders. Held under the theme Unleashing Growth and Strengthening Resilience in the Caribbean, Prime Minister Andrew Holness used the forum to give an update on his government's plans. Among them, improving the island's ease of doing business ranking through the implementation of the National Identification System NIDS. Mr. Holness asserted that commerce would be enhanced as the NIDS would reduce uncertainty in identifying players, lessen transaction cost, and form the basis of a digital economy. He added that measures such as next-day service for company registration should also bring about improvement in the business environment. Jamaica was one of 34 countries whose economy improved the most across 3 or more ease of doing business topics in 2016-17.
And we made improvements in trading across borders. Jamaica reduced the time for documentary compliance for importing by implementing a web-based customs data management platform, Asikuda World. And that made a significant impact.
Government made another critical step in public sector reform Tuesday when Parliament passed the Road Maintenance Fund Repeal Act 2017. The bill effectively closes the fund and moves its assets and liabilities to the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Prime Minister Andrew Holness said the government would substantially reduce the $51 million being spent on salaries and related costs.
The government will save direct costs related to the operations of the RMF in the approximate sum of $35 million per year based on the transfer of the functions to the ministry.
The Road Maintenance Fund is one of 5 public sector entities to be closed by the end of March 2018. Wage negotiations with the public sector was among topics discussed by Prime Minister Andrew Holness at a Jamaica House press conference Friday. The briefing followed meetings with IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde. Madame Lagarde held talks with the Cabinet, the Economic Growth Council, the Public Sector Oversight Committee, and other groups. While reiterating government's focus on economic growth and job creation through public sector reform, Mr. Holness said wage negotiations with the public sector would be intensified. Public sector workers, through their unions, have rejected the government's offer, but Mr. Holness said the finance minister and his team would have the negotiations resolved as quickly as possible.
And I want to use this platform to appeal to the unions to consider the government's offer and to reassure them that the government will always maintain a respectful and collaborative stance in the negotiations.
Road alignment for the long-awaited Montego Bay bypass has been finalized, with plans now underway to finance the roadway. Prime Minister Andrew Holness made the announcement Tuesday as he opened the ATL Automotive Group's new showroom in the second city.
Last week, Friday, I saw the final alignment, which to me makes sense. It will be a 14-kilometer road. When it is finished, it will take you 8 minutes to bypass the Montego Bay city proper at 60 kilometers an hour.
And while at the function, Mr. Holness announced plans for an all-island road improvement project. Reacting to recent protests about the state of the road, Mr. Holness committed his government to assessing and addressing citizens' road concerns.
And I want to say to those persons that the government hears, the government cares, the government understands. And in the supplementary budget, which will be announced next week, we will make a significant allocation to start road repairs right across Jamaica.
In Parliament Tuesday, Prime Minister Holness instructed the National Works Agency to consult members of Parliament when carrying out roadworks in their constituencies. The Works Agency has also been asked to fast-track its assessment of roads damaged by recent rains.
Once we have the professionals tell us that the weather system has lifted, immediately after that, then we will start the patching and the repairs. And we will do so with all MPs participating in the decision as to the roads that need to be done.
And still on the nation's roads, Prime Minister Andrew Holness said Jamaica was on track to see an 11% decline in road fatalities in 2017 when compared to last year. This as there was a 15% reduction or 49 fewer road fatalities as of October 31 this year when compared to the same period in 2016. Those figures Prime Minister Holness believes will be reduced even further after last Wednesday's launch of the Road Safety Hub. The $8 million Road Safety Management Facility and Resource Center is a partnership between the JN Foundation and the JCF's Traffic and Highway Division.
The integration of geospatial technologies and services to improve data collection and analysis will add value to how we develop our policies and interventions related to traffic management.
And finally, Prime Minister Andrew Holness expressed deep regret upon hearing of the passing of RJR Gleaner Communications Group Chairman J. Lester Spalding. Mr. Spalding died in hospital on Friday after ailing for some time. Mr. Holness remembered Mr. Spalding as a shrewd and exemplary businessman. And that's all we have for you today. Do join us next time for more of the news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
Cervical cancer, caused by the human papillomavirus HPV, is a major public health concern in Jamaica. Almost 50% of the women diagnosed each year die from this preventable disease. To prevent cervical cancer and save lives, the Ministry of Health is providing the bivalent HPV vaccine to girls ages 9 to 14 years free of cost. Parents, give your girls a fighting chance against this deadly disease. The bivalent HPV vaccine is safe and provides 90 to 100% protection against HPV type 16 and 18, which are responsible for most HPV-caused cancers. Call the Ministry of Health's toll-free line 1-888-1-LOVE or 1-888-663-5683 for more information, or email us at hpvinfo@moh.gov.jm. You can also find further information on the website moh.gov.jm, as well as the Ministry of Health's social media channels.
As we celebrate science and technology in November, we look at how the Jamaica National Heritage Trust is using innovations in the sector to preserve our legacy.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Headquarters House, home of the Jamaica National Heritage Trust. We're going to take you through some of the ropes in the methods in conservation, so please come along with us. Thanks for joining us in our conservation lab. We have here working with us Mr. Darrington Ferguson, as well as Mr. Frank Gale, and we'll be looking at some of the methods they will be applying to different material types for the preservation of our material culture of Jamaica. First of all, we have here some cannonballs that are usually found with some extent of corrosion. Mr. Ferguson is actually removing mechanically some of the concretion from a cannonball, and after he has removed that, then we would wire it. This wired metal object we would then install in our electrolytic tank. In the process of electrolysis, what we are actually doing, we are primarily reversing the process of corrosion. Once it has been electrolyzed, it would look something like this. So we would then proceed to brush to remove any loose rust that would be left on it. We would then put the iron object in some pure water, which we call deionized water, and that would be heated to ensure that the metal itself would facilitate the extraction of any impurities that might be left in the body of the iron. After that, we would dry the iron object. Most times we dry it in alcohol, and that would remove the water from the body of the object. And after drying, we would take a substance we call tannic acid, applying several coats, and it would form somewhat a stable surface for the iron object. And then the final stage is waxing to provide a coating or a lacquer on the surface of the iron object. Here we have Mr. Gale. He's actually applying orthophosphoric acid to remove slight rusting or corrosion from the case of a sword. He is actually using what we call a chemical as well as a mechanical means of so doing. We have close to it the extractor system, which is used to remove harmful fumes from the atmosphere in order to make the environment a much healthier one in which and a safer one for us to work. Lead corrodes by forming mainly lead sulfide and lead carbonate. So we would be soaking it first of all in ammonium acetate, and that would basically remove within a few hours the lead carbonate. In order to remove any residue of ammonium acetate that might be left on the lead, we would then rinse it quickly for a short time period. Just rinse it in a bath of a very dilute solution of hydrochloric acid. If there are any corrosion left at that stage, then we would remove that mechanically, either very likely with a glass bristle brush. After that, we do as we would with the iron. Coming over here now, we have copper, or copper material. We have been soaking this copper in a substance we prepare in the lab, which we call alkaline Rochelle salt. The alkaline Rochelle salt will remove from it largely what we call bronze disease. So we soak it in the solution. The chemical will dissolve the bronze disease. After that has been dissolved, then we would rinse in, for example, a dilute solution of sulfuric acid to remove any slight impurities or corrosion product that might be left there. After that, we will, as we do with the other metals, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you were well informed by the information we've imparted today, and you're welcome to join us at any time, particularly at our heritage sites. And when you see our heritage sites, you see the artifacts that are there, you will appreciate to a greater extent the effort that has gone into its preservation.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Our unique mix of foods is reminiscent of our motto, out of many, one people. Take a look.
Jamaica's cuisine has come a far way. The island now boasts dozens of fast food chains, oriental restaurants, all-natural eateries and indigenous food shops that serve a buffet of dishes, many of which were not celebrated fair just 50 years ago when Jamaica was a newly independent nation. Credit must go to government bodies like the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, which has been promoting the consumption of authentic Jamaican foods since its culinary competition in hotels was introduced in 1965.
When we roast the yam, when we roast the yam.
Do you like roast yam? You're not alone. Many Jamaicans have acquired a taste for this particular dish, and they didn't have to look far for its creation. Roasting is a centuries-old cooking style that Jamaicans owe to the Taino peoples that once occupied this land. Just 50 years ago, it was still a time-consuming, more labor-intensive practice of roasting ground provisions and meats in the earth.
They even roast the fish in the earth, and then they scrape it off.
Now, Jamaicans from all walks of life are roasting, over grills, on meat sheets, in less time, but with as much flavor as their ancestors. As the local cattle industry beefed up its output in the 1960s, Jamaicans wholeheartedly reclaimed one of their favorite pre-independence imports. Now on a Saturday, there is hardly a household that is not cooking either the popular beef soup or one of its other variations. The British like to boil, and it's from them that we've adopted this cooking method to serve up a wide array of dishes that are uniquely Jamaican. Hot as it is, Jamaicans love their teas, and while traditional English flavors were the popular choices for about the first 2 decades of independence, industrious Jamaicans have more recently been bagging indigenous and African-inspired flavors. It could have been the love for teas by the English that prompted then-Governor Sir Nicholas Laws to plant coffee seedlings in the island back in the 1700s. From the first plant in Temple Hall, St. Andrew, the Blue Mountain coffee is now a global brand. With about 90% of the Jamaican population claiming African heritage, it's easy to see why the continent gets credit for most of what we eat. But there was a time when claiming that particular heritage was not for popular consumption.
You wouldn't find bami being sold in the supermarket in the 60s or late 70s.
Green bananas were a no-no if you're sort of, you know, it was a very peasant thing and you couldn't say that you're eating green bananas.
No more. Today, Jamaicans of all ethnicities delight in their prickled or corn meats, mackerel rundown, and yes, the many faces of bami and banana, green, ripe, boiled, fried, however you want it. What would the Jamaican diet look like without the maroons?
They would catch the wild hog. They would prepare that wild hog, and they would dig a hole, and they put the fire in the earth, in the hole, and they would set up a wooden grill over that hole and anchor these sticks with stones and so on. And then they would have the pig on that pimento, green pimento wood that is anchored over that hole, and that was how they would roast the pig. After they season it, of course, with bird pepper and pepper elder.
And from the hole emerged the most popular maroon gift to the dinner plate, jerk.
In the 1980s, you could only get jerk pork in Portland. Only at the Port Antonio market on a Saturday when the maroons used to go there to sell it. And then afterwards, I think one of the maroons was started the stand at Boston.
Giving us the widely popular Boston jerk pork and its many challengers from all across the island.
The truth is, over the last 50 years, we have had a major integration of Indian culinary arts into Jamaican art.
The most popular integration is not a specific dish, it's a spice. While Jamaicans tend to rub it on the meat and the Indians are more likely to put it in hot oil, everyone agrees curry is a much appreciated import from the Asian continent.
You know, in Jamaica, we are very adventurous. We like to go beyond what we are accustomed to. So we move from curry goat to curry chicken, and all sorts of things are being curried too.
The Jamaicans have come to embrace the Chinese cuisine because it's good.
But you know, Jamaicans, sometimes we cook the Chinese thing at home with the soya sauce, but we have to throw a little jerk seasoning in it and what have you, because it's a combination of flavors.
And that's where we leave you on Jamaica Magazine, but only for today. We'll return tomorrow around about the same time right here on this station. If you can't wait and have internet access, then join us online, jis.gov.jm. The links to our YouTube, Facebook and Twitter pages are also on screen. So too is information on our mobile app that's Android and iOS compatible. On behalf of the entire team here at the JIS, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.